What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for another AEW recap and reactions with your friendly neighborhood wrestling talk creator Benjamin J. Dixon. Today is April the 22nd, and I will be talking to you guys about tonight's Dynamite. Um, Now tonight started off with a segment between MJF and Kevin Knight. MJF was protesting Darby Allin's shock championship win last week and calling it the Seattle screw job. Um, Sounds very familiar to another screw job from back in the day, if you understand my drift. Um, However, we did get a we did get a announcement rather that Kevin Knight and MJF will be facing off against each other for the TNT title on next week in Fairfax, Virginia. We had a opening match between Brody King and Blackheart Leo Rush, which was a pretty good match. A lot of big offense from Brody. Um, Blackheart Leo Rush, obviously going around doing his this new gimmick. Well, it's not necessarily new, but it's new to me. Um, and this gimmick is it's going to take time to grow on me, but I'm liking it so far. It's cool. It's a pretty different version of himself than what he normally would have done. Liking with the different creative things that he's doing with his character. Um, then we had Kairo Shida versus Mina Shirakawa, which was a pretty good match as well. That was a pretty solid match. Hikaru Shida won, and that was a pretty solid match for the most part. And then we had a segment between Chris Jericho and Ricochet. Um, and we found out later on in the night that Ricochet and the Demand will be facing off against Chris Jericho and the Hurt Syndicate on Collision. Um, Also, we had a match with this returning Samoa Joe versus Cody Chun from Prestige Wrestling, guys, if you didn't remember. Um, and Samoa Joe came back, had a very solid return match. Um, fairly solid match. Um, Also had a match between Will Ospreay and Mark Davis. Um, this was where I was a tad bit disappointed with the finish of the match because they were, clearly um, doing the neck, um, selling the neck issue with Will Ospreay the entire match, and then throughout the match, Mark Davis is doing a lot of moves that target the neck, and at the end of the match, as intense as it was ramping up very quickly. Will Ospreay was beginning to have a comeback, and then his neck would start to bother him, and towards the end of the match, the referee stopped the match because Will Ospreay could not physically continue. And then, surprisingly, the Death Riders come out and help out Will Ospreay. I don't know where that's going, but I'm interested to see what's happening. Um, and I got a question for you guys. Do you guys think that Mina Shirakawa was right about Kawashi possibly attacking Tony Storm? We'll have to find out. We also had a match between Darby Allin and Tommaso Ciampa. Um, Tommaso Ciampa came out um, and basically interrupted MJF mid promo because MJF did come out when Darby came out, and MJF started to protest once more, and then Tommaso Ciampa interrupted him, and then the match began. Um, this was a very intense match. A lot of high spots, a lot of intense, um, the knee strikes, from Tommaso Ciampa, the high risk moves from Darby Allin, and then the table spot, the dive onto the table, onto the electrical table by Darby Allin. That was a fantastic spot. The Psycho Driller onto the floor. Um, there was just so many different cool things that happened during this match. Um, but overall, the match was a 9 out of 10 for me. Fantastic match. Really enjoyed it. And overall for Dynamite as a whole, I would give it an A minus. This was very good. It built some stories going forward into Double or Nothing, and maybe even into this new Redemption pay per view that we're hopefully gonna get. Um, and this was a pretty good Dynamite for the most part. What do you guys think down below? Let me know. And let me know what your letter grade is or what your rating is for tonight's Dynamite. This was very solid Dynamite tonight. Hope to see what happens next week. Can't wait to see what happens next week. And I will see you guys soon. Peace.